Top of it, everybody. I want to welcome you to Managing Our Minds podcast, where we create a safe space for you to tell your stories because vulnerability is not a weakness, but it's a step towards growth in every area of life. And I'm Dominique Easley.
And I'm Damien Jacobson. Today we have a special guest, a jack of all trades, man. And I can't wait to get into this story about how, some of these things that came across the desk. Mr. Marcus Smith II.
What's going on, brothers?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
What's up, man? Thank you for coming on.
Man, appreciate you guys, man, for sure.
So, here at Managing Our Minds podcast, bro, we like to ask one question that we know is taken for granted. And it's, how was your day, bro? Like, how's your day been? People ask that question, but nobody really gives you the answer and nobody's really willing to sit there and listen to it. You know what I mean? So, how's your day?
Man, if I could be honest, I know sometimes as a man we like to say our day is going great or I'm good. But this week it's been hectic. I know obviously I told you last week that it was a little hectic, but this week's been a little hectic. Trying to get some things going with my gym that I'm running. Also
Okay.
trying to bring some mental health stuff with that. So it's a lot of moving pieces. So if I had to rate myself, I say I'm about a 6 or a 7, which is not all the way the best, but it's kind of right there in the middle. I'm just trying to get through it,
You aware?
and I appreciate you guys for giving me that space to be able to tell y'all that because
Yeah.
that's the real.
That's a fact, bro. Well, you aware. That's the first thing. That's the first thing. You know what I
And it's
mean?
not the best, it's not the worst. So you right in the middle, and it's gonna get better, definitely. My week this week is better than last week for sure. I talked to Ease about it, but it's a lot of progress. It's a 360, bro, and that's the beautiful thing about getting in tune with just the things we talking about right now.
Yeah, and I want to say happy Men's Mental Health Month, bro.
Yeah.
Happy Men's Mental Health Month. I hope you take care of your mental every month, every day, but especially this month. Really hone in and understand where your process is and where you at. So for sure, happy Men's Mental Health Month. I
Appreciate
really,
that, brother.
of course, of course. I want to start out, man. A lot of people kind of get the concept of athletes having confidence and athletes not going through stuff at an early age, right? And honestly, that's where it happens. Childhood. You know what I mean? That's exactly where it starts. So growing up in Columbus, you face significant challenges, including your parents' divorce and you facing a panic attack. At just 8 years old, man. At just 8 years old. Like that's a lot to handle. So how did these early events shape you understanding your mental health? And what ways did they influence how you approach football?
Yeah, man, that's a great question. My first anxiety attack was when I was 8, and when I looked at it growing up, I didn't know exactly what that was. Obviously, being in the communities that we come from, we don't know what it is. My parents didn't even know. They're like, "What? What is going on with this kid?" But then football ended up being my outlet. It being my band aid, if you will, to kind of get away from those struggles and those pains. So it kind of helped me in the beginning
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't address it, right? And as a kid, you can just, keep going, push things to the back, and not really have to worry about it for real because, you're a kid. But then as you get older, it started to affect me in my game and my play and everything because now the thing that happened to me when I was 8, I never addressed it. And now I'm sitting in the therapy room walking away from football trying to figure out, why football did this to me when really it was all me.
Yeah.
And so,
Undiagnosed.
yeah, man, undiagnosed trauma, just, a lot of things that went unnoticed that we kind of as black people look at like, okay, man, he's just going through it. It's not really that serious, but it really was that serious for me. And that was kind of the turning point, me actually going to therapy as an adult, because then I really started to understand, okay, I had an anxiety attack from my
Yeah.
therapist.
Mhm. I want to ask you that, Marcus, because it's like at 8 years old, so obviously you weren't in tune with what was going on. You just found out what this was as an adult. You didn't know that was just like kind of behavior that it was kind of weird, but you didn't know what it was at that time.
Yeah, and throughout my childhood, my friends would tell me that I would wake up in the middle of the night gasping for air.
Wow.
So I would have anxiety attacks in my sleep because if you understand anxiety, your brain doesn't necessarily shut off when you're asleep. It's constantly racing.
Moving.
Yeah. And that's kind of how I was. And I would do it often and nobody kind of picked up on it. It would happen all the time. My first time picking up on it was in college with my roommate. And he had said something to me about it.
So when they told you as a kid, obviously it was happening sleepovers, it was happening at home. It wasn't right. It wasn't mentioned at all from your parents. Did like was you able to talk about it? It wasn't even a conversation.
Probably was a joke.
Yeah, it wasn't a conversation at all because the way they looked at it was more so like, going to the doctor. Like my grandfather died, probably was a diabetic, but he never went to the doctor. Right?
Yeah.
My wife was like, man, I think he's a diabetic because she's a nurse. But everything goes unnoticed. It's like, okay, if something happens, okay, no, we ain't going to the doctor for that because obviously, if you go to the doctor, that's another
Yep.
bill that they got to deal with, right? So
Mhm.
they would rather push it to the side and not really talk about it. It's like, oh, he'll get through it, right? Not realizing that, that thing that I was dealing with, I'm gonna have to address it at some point in my life.
Yeah. And it's not only were you dealing with a panic attack, right? You was also dealing with moving on to college because you had a successful high school season, a successful high school career playing quarterback. I didn't know that
Yeah,
about you, bro. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Before we got together, I didn't know that you played college. I mean, I didn't know that you played quarterback in high school. So you had to transition from quarterback to defensive line and eventually becoming a defensive end standout. Because I knew about you at Louisville. I was trying to catch up to you. I'll sit there and be honest. I was trying to catch up to you. You feel me? And going through that, can you walk us through your mental and emotional journey of how that position changed and how you adapted to a completely new field, man? Because that's big. And not only did you have to change the position, but you was playing at the top of the top.
Yeah, no, that was tough. That was hard. I was getting pancake every day for real. Like I really question, being in the trenches is different. You know this,
Hmm.
Dom. And I was really questioning my love for the game, especially in college. And that mental barrier, anguish that I was dealing with in college. So what I was dealing with in college was not eating. Right. So I wouldn't eat before practice, right? I could only eat after practice. Right? Because my anxiety was so high, I would throw up
Wow.
all my food.
But
So what
that's
I did, huh?
counterintuitive because you coming from quarterback and you got to play defensive line, so you got it. You got to
So
eat.
yes. So the crazy part about that was, how you doing Oklahoma drills,
Hmm.
and coach put me in the middle. Like this is my first time playing D line. He put me in the middle with the dogs, and he just trying to see where I'm at. And I was true be honest, man, I was shit bricks, boy. I was like, nah, I don't know about this. And so that's what kind of started it, right? And then because I did well, right? Every time we do well with something, we try to keep that same thing going. I felt like maybe because my anxiety is so high, maybe I shouldn't eat before.
Hmm.
Maybe that'll help me. Obviously, in the long run, it didn't help me
Yeah.
at all. But that transition was definitely tough. I was actually supposed to go to Florida with you, Dom. My
For
first
real?
offer was from Florida. Coach
Hmm.
White,
That's
Coach
crazy.
Leffler, right? They came to my school. I think Coach White really wanted me to play tight end. Obviously,
Yeah,
he
for sure.
that's why he came. But Coach Strong always had a great relationship with me, and once he left, he called me, and so I kind of followed Coach Strong to Louisville. But yeah, man, Florida would have been that was in the cards. You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
But
That would have been crazy if we boy, that would have been different if all of us
we
would
was
have done
already
that.
10 deep. It was
yeah,
crazy
nah, yeah,
already.
Florida, like we know that y'all ain't really want to be at the Sugar Bowl like that, bro. We it's like
I'm
we
glad
here
that you
with
brought this up,
Louisville.
man. I'm
We
glad,
did
Yeah,
not,
man.
bruh.
we know. But that don't take the fact away that we
No,
got
it
the
don't.
dub. You know what
It
I'm
don't.
saying? But
It
we knew
don't.
all week like they don't really want to be here like that because y'all was really supposed to be in the Natty for real.
If it weren't for Manti Te'o, we should have a national championship.
No, if it wasn't for Jeff Driscoll, the hell with Manti Te'o, I'll
Nah.
put this out here. Nah, I'm putting this out here. I hate Jeff Driscoll.
Don't say that,
I
bro.
hate that man. I wouldn't. This will be putting on. This will be put all over. He ruined our season. He ruined our perfect season, bro. I'm
Don't say
sorry to
that
say.
about QB1, bro. Don't say that,
Nah,
bro.
it was because it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be Brissett. That's why. It was supposed to be Jacoby.
You got a point.
Right? Am I lying?
You got a point.
Exactly. Thank you
And
very
it
much. My
definitely
bad.
caused
My
some division
bad.
in the locker
I had
room.
yeah, I had to get that off my chest, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was big. Yeah, that one was big. But nah, man, in college, because you said just get right back to it. You said that your roommate was able to help you out with your panic attacks while you were sleeping. Was he also that person for you when during this transition moment? You know what I mean? Because I know you had to lean on somebody. Like,
Yeah.
where was you getting your skill sets? How was you getting through playbooks? That's a whole different
Yeah.
type of mental you got to change.
Yeah. So my roommate by the name of Jared Davis, he was a receiver, and he noticed that I was jumping up out of my sleep, like screaming sometimes. And he was like, he came in there like, bro, you
Right.
good? You all right? You know what I'm saying? And I didn't necessarily have a actual team or somebody to confide in. Obviously, therapy wasn't a thing. You know that. Like you in college, you just trying to figure it out. But
Plus,
I
you
was
was a
able
coach
to kind of
strong.
like, yeah, I was able to kind of get off my chest to him, in those times. So that's kind of how I got through it, right? Some of the things that I masked, I could talk to him about it. Like, yeah, man, I've been kind of dealing with this since I was about 8, right? So it almost made me feel like it was okay because now I know somebody outside of my family kind of knows, right? But he was the only person that I was able to talk to about it. I didn't talk to, Clint Hurt, who was he was my defensive line coach. He's the defensive line coach of the Eagles now. I didn't talk to anybody about it. You talked about the plays a little bit. Um, when it came down to the plays and everything, that was tough too, right? But my coach brought me in, right? So I played quarterback, different terminology. It's a little bit easier, but he kind of started to tell me like, yo, look, bring that mentality, the quarterback mind, to the defensive line. You as a quarterback, you can kind of see the tendencies and things of that
That's a
nature.
fact.
Even though I was getting pancake every day,
Yeah,
he would
smarts.
always come to me and say, look, I need you to just keep going. You're gonna make a lot of money at this position one day.
Fire.
So I took that with all the other stuff that I was dealing with, and I think that's what helped me keep going because I knew that my coach believed in me. And you know that for us, that's a
Everything.
huge confidence. Yeah.
And Marcus, I just seen some guys throughout my journey. I seen guys change positions, and I was one of those guys where I didn't listen. And I would have made a lot more money if I'd have switched the offensive line. But the stubbornness in me just kept me from, just wanting to show them that I was. How did that transition go? Like, hey, did you give some pushback towards it because you've been doing this for so long? It's hard for you to just say, I want to go in here and battle with these big guys.
I'll tell you exactly what happened. So I come in as quarterback. I'm in 7-on-7, throwing a rock. I'm behind 3 quarterbacks. So it's 2 seniors, and then there's another freshman quarterback who ended up being one of our running backs. He ended up playing running back. I came in July, so I only got a month to learn the playbook, right? The season start is like the end of July. The season starts in September. So being a quarterback, I would have had to come in the spring for me to really take that starting job from 2 seniors.
Yeah.
So Coach Strong basically comes to me. I'm standing over there. I ain't getting no reps. I'm just watching practice, getting mental reps, right? He comes over there. He said, well, what you think about playing defense? And then Coach Grove comes over and said, nah, man, what you doing, man? Stop trying to make him make a decision he don't want to make anyway.
Yeah.
And I said, man, Coach, honestly, I'm just trying to get on the field. I don't care about standing over here. Like,
Fire.
this ain't it. This ain't standing over here ain't it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I would get bored. You know, I got ADHD, so it's like I'd be looking in the cloud, looking
Yeah.
everywhere. And so that second practice, Coach asked me again. He said, look, I want you to just try linebacker. Just trust me. I'm like, all right, I don't care. I ain't doing nothing in practice. I'd rather be doing something. And bro,
Fire.
he put me on it was a 2-a-day practice. He put me on the other side, bro, and I never looked back, bro.
Yeah.
That's
Which
crazy.
Never
one of
look
those
back.
moments where you was like, maybe after your first sack, or you like, man, I could do this. What lit that fire for you?
Well, that whole year as a freshman, because this was my freshman year, I ended up starting against Kentucky my first game ever playing in college, right? But then I got demoted the rest of the year. So I got put on the bench because, I was a little soft, coming from quarterback. They trying to use my athletic ability, but I just ain't there yet, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't till the following camp, right, that I really felt like, okay, I'm starting to get my win. Because I started winning a lot of my reps. And then I ended up having 5.5 sacks that year, my sophomore year, which is, my first time really actually getting into it, playing. And I took a whole year, even though I was demoted, I learned a lot that year
Mhm.
from sitting on the bench, learning and with guys in front of us. You know what I mean? So yeah, the moment that you're talking about really didn't come like where I was like, yeah, okay, I might got some here. It was don't you gonna be mad about this. But this you gotta think, bro, this is the biggest game of our
That's a fact.
lives.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Y'all used to playing every week like this.
That's a fact. And you went
So
off.
this is our this is our Super Bowl.
That's a fact.
So because I went off in that game, that's what put the world on notice about who I was
Mm-hmm.
after that. And then everything went crazy after that. I ended up having 14.5 sacks my senior year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we gave you that
you
confidence.
Yeah.
Who you was over there
Yeah.
beating up on?
Oh, he back.
It's gonna be Hump.
Henderson?
Nah,
What was his
not
last
Henderson.
name?
Nah,
Humphreys.
Humphreys?
Okay,
It
DJ.
it was Hump
He had
and
dreads, light skin.
no Dredge. No. Nick.
You talking about Nixon?
You talking about Xavier
Nixon.
Nixon.
Because he was supposed to be a top pick
Yeah,
too, I
yeah, he
believe.
was supposed to be. Yeah, because he went off like he was a part of like that Tebow era. He went off his
Right.
freshman year with that
Yeah.
Tebow era. So yeah, now you definitely
Made a name for it off of us.
because that was your junior year, right?
Yeah, that was my junior year. Yep.
Yeah, that was your junior year. Then you went off that senior year. I was watching because we both obviously came out, and I'm just like, oh, that boy was eating. That boy was eating.
Now I know how much y'all used to be eating in practice, huh?
Yeah, that's a fact.
It was definitely it was a battle every day, man. It was fun though. It was fun,
Yeah.
depressing at times too. You know what I'm saying? But it was because it was so many dogs. But Marcus, so in 2018, you bravely spoke about a suicide attempt. Do you mind walking us through the place you were in and the weight that was on your shoulders and how you began to heal through that journey and get back to the same old Marcus Smith again?
Yeah, man. I talk about this a lot. I never really addressed my issues that we talked about before. Being in Philadelphia was hard for me because I'm still new. I ain't really been playing the position that long. So I ain't really had nobody to. Yeah, man. I was a first round draft pick, so the expectation was super high, right? And I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I wasn't performing up to the standard. The standard was, 5, 6 sacks at least as a rookie. I ain't really play at all.
I'm right
So,
there with you, big fella.
man, it was, you know how it is, bro. And I carried that with me, never addressing any of the problems, any of the issues. It was like baggage, man, bringing that same baggage from when I was 8. So now it's compound interest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Compound interest. I get an opportunity. I get cut right before camp going into my 4th year because the Eagles wanted me to take a pay cut. I wouldn't take it, right? I'd rather get cut and then go somewhere where I feel like, they're going to want me, right? So I ended up going to Seattle, played there 1 year. The year after that, that's when I really started feeling it. Like,
Who was the coach? Who was the coach that year?
with the Eagles or the Seahawks?
Seahawks.
It was Pete Carroll.
And DQ, was DQ there?
DQ.
Dan Quinn.
No, I think he was in Atlanta. Right?
No,
He was in
Dan
Atlanta.
Quinn. Yeah, he was in Atlanta. But
Okay.
I mean, obviously, Dan Quinn is in what is it?
Washington
the Commanders now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, I was there, and I was feeling it. It was heavy. Like, I was super depressed. I didn't know if I really wanted to play football. Like, I just felt like something was wrong with me. And I'm like, bro, like, why am I, I'm having these anxiety attacks. Like, I can't sleep. I had just signed a 1-year deal. Like, I'm like, okay, stuff is looking good on the outside, but I'm crumbling on the inside, bro, literally.
Uh-huh.
And I just got tired of it one day, bro. I was just like, bro, I can't keep dealing with this. So for me, I really just wanted to get rid of the pain, right? Now, I'm a God-fearing man, but at the same time, that pain was tough to deal with. So as I'm driving to the facility, I wake up one morning. This is a morning where you probably see all the bags under my eyes, and I try to drive my car like off the road. But by the time I'm driving the car off the road, like my wife calls me first. So then I kind of jerked the car back like out of frustration because I was already there.
Mm-hmm.
Talking to her, I rush her off the phone, basically. I'm telling her, like, yeah, I'm going to the facility. I'll talk to you later. Get off the phone with her, try to do it again. Right before my mother-in-law calls me. So now I'm talking to my mother-in-law, and by the time I'm done talking to my mother-in-law, I'm at the bottom of the hill. And I was safe, right? And that's when it hit me. That's when I realized, like, damn, bro, you literally just tried to kill yourself, bro. Like, what? Like, what is going on with you? And then as I'm talking to her, I'm on the phone walking into the building, and I go straight to the training room, and I said, man, I just tried to off myself, man. I can't do this. So then my coaches come in, Clint Hurt and Pete Carroll. Like, the Seahawks, man, they saved my life, bro, for real. Because when they came in, they sent me to a therapist,
Mm-hmm.
and they told me to take as much time as you need. And that was the first time I really started rediscovering, like, Marcus Smith. Because I ain't know who the hell Marcus Smith was.
Yeah.
For sure.
Bro,
That's deep, bro.
Yeah, I wanna. Obviously, it took a lot. That takes a lot for you to even walk into that training room and just be vulnerable like that, bro. Because a lot of people would just sit with that until it came to the point where you didn't have the opportunity to go back into that training room. So, man, that was big of you, and to have an organization. That's why I asked if DQ was there, because I've heard such great things about the Seattle Seahawks organization, man. And to have an organization like that in the NFL be able to be there for you at a time like that, like, I know that stayed with you for a long. I know that's gonna stay with you forever, man. So I'm grateful that people like that was around you at that time.
Right.
It was meant for me to be in Seattle. Because had I been somewhere else, I probably wouldn't be here, bro.
For sure. Because obviously we know of people who've went there, who've asked for help and didn't get help. You know what I mean?
And just on that tip right there, man, I know you probably seen it, Marcus, the viral story about Kyron Lacy from LSU. That's actually my nephew. So why you're here is just like so many questions that I would love to have been able to ask him. Like, what I really would, is like, what really got you to that tipping point? Was it football? Was it everything kind of surrounded in one, because right now we can only speculate about Kyron, about what could have possibly happened with him. But you are a person that was literally, you tried to do it and you failed at it. So I just want you to elaborate a little bit about, what took you to that place right there.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if you guys ever felt this, um, but like when you're deeply depressed with everything going around you, and you feel like nothing is going, you feel like everything could be going right on the outside, but nothing is going right internally, right? And it was super heavy. Like it just felt like my chest was caving in all the time. And it felt like somebody, like a fat person, was sitting on my chest all the time. Right? That's what it felt like. So when you feel pain, and it's not like the physical pain, that's what emotional, mental pain feels like, right? It just feels like you can't move and you can't breathe. So for me, in my mind, I'm like, well, if this is the only way I can get rid of that pain, I ain't gotta feel it no more. And maybe this is the way that I need to go, right? And maybe some other guys feel that same way. Um, and I realized through therapy and realized that that wasn't the answer. And so that's what I try to give to guys now. That's why I speak the way that I do, because no, I'm not a therapist. No, I'm not, a clinician, counselor, whatever it may be. But offering yourself,
Experiences.
yeah, man,
And you
it's
can't
it's
teach
just it's not the answer.
better than that, man. You
Yeah.
can't. Like there's nothing more that you can give to a person who's actually been through it and come out on the other side. Cause I actually my cousin probably about 2 months ago, he wound up offing himself in front of his what they say girlfriend's door
Mm.
on Staten Island. And he was the type of person. He was the type of person that literally, like, bro, when you know them people that walk in the room that's always happy, that's always jokey, that's always everything, like that was Duke. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
to get that call that early morning, it was like we didn't believe it at first. You know what I mean? But like you said, he didn't like you had the opportunity to have people around you. He was back home where we grew up. Nobody knew what he was going through. Nobody asked what he was going through. Now everybody wants to be aware of it. And it sucks that it takes it to this point. You know what I mean? But it's just people don't understand the severity of black men taking their life, man. You know what I mean? Like,
That's heavy in itself. We need us, for real.
yeah, nah, for
Yeah.
sure, bro. For sure. And
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 and one of the things I couldn't help but always wanted to Marcus is like, it's really like we try to figure out, because as kids, bro, when you have the kind of talent that we were blessed with, and you go up through these levels and these people kind of look at you like as a piece of meat, bro. And it's like, whenever, at the end of the day, it's very few people that I know that walked away from the game on their own terms. This thing
Mhm.
is going to be done with you. And just, I guess my message is kind of saying, I would just like to at least try to see if we can change the narrative on young black men feeling like that's the only way out. Because, bro, I mean, I was in a lot of depression for years after the league didn't work out the way that I wanted it to go. And everybody's a kid when you go to school like Louisville, Florida, or you go into the league. Well, in reality, all of us not going to sustain in the league. And just that narrative behind us now with black people, we just got to kind of change that, and let's start being pilots. Let's start being, because a lot of this stuff is a lot less stressful. I'm not saying it's not stressful, but the mental wear and tear and all that stuff, it takes a lot of toll on us as men.
yeah, we don't have no coaches to help us through it, man. And people don't want to believe it. That's
Right.
similar to you, bro. And a lot of people don't know this about me, but I was in a dark place my rookie year too. You know what I mean? I just got bitten by a dog a week before the draft.
Yeah.
That was down to my bone. So I didn't, bro. I couldn't. I just finished rehabbing. I tore my ACL, right? Just finished rehabbing. Got all the way back ready. Got bit by the dog. now I can't do nothing. I can't sweat because my leg is gonna get infected. So now my rehab just got pushed all the way back. Now I don't have my leg muscles, and you understand exactly what that fit. You know exactly what that is. Not having your leg muscles. You know what I mean? So
It was also a
going
battle
through
to keep the Patriots from finding out. I remember we was on the phone like,
exactly.
bro, we
Dang, bro,
cannot find out
I ain't
this.
even know that. That's
Yeah,
But the
bro.
crazy
Yeah.
part,
So
bro, it was like the household dog. We was roommates.
yep.
It was like
Yeah.
it was his dog.
Yeah.
You
It
know
was
what I'm
my
saying?
dog.
Like it was
So
just a
go,
crazy
bro.
situation. It just
Going through
bad
that, I
timing.
wound up losing $500,000 off of somebody, going into my crib and getting bit by my dog. So going through my rookie year, bro, I couldn't walk. I had to. My leg was filling up with 20 cc's every single day. I couldn't walk. I had to walk around with my game ready, bro. I wanted to. At a certain time, bro, I thought about the same thing. I ain't never actually experienced it, but it came to a point where I was just tired. You feel me? I was just real tired. Like I didn't want to deal with it. I didn't want to have to wake up and think every day I had to wake up and try to get back ready to play this game, not even to spend time with my kid at the time. So it was just real tired. So to sit here and that's why I'm like, bro, it's big of you to be able to walk into a room and say something like that. Cause honestly, for me, today is really the first day I ever came out my mouth that I've had that conversation with myself, bro. You feel me? Like today was the first day that I've ever had that conversation with myself, sitting
yeah,
here saying that.
bro. I thank you. I thank you for. I get choked up a little bit about just hearing stories because it's like, man, like we need that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and we can't do it by ourselves, bro. So the more you do that, the more you do that, I just feel like we're creating a lane. You're already creating a lane with this podcast that's allowing guys to speak, bro. Because to be honest with you, I have been doing so much stuff, man. I ain't been able to just sit down like this and chop it up
Yeah.
with the guys, bro.
Uh,
So this doesn't even feel like a podcast. It really just feels like, man, I can go down memory lane. We could chop it up, but then we could talk about some real stuff. And I really, man, bro, I appreciate you sharing that, bro, because
of course.
that's gonna allow me to continue to speak and share, bro. So I appreciate that for sure.
I appreciate you, bro, for everything that you're doing and what you're doing in your life after football, all the advocacy. Because obviously, I've heard big things about you with your TED Talk coming up. I mean, your TED Talk already done, and we're gonna be able to see it coming up. You know what I mean? So, since stepping away from the NFL, you've become a powerful voice in mental health, a real powerful voice, and I'm grateful to see. I was grateful to see the start of it, bro, because I still remember them conversations when you first started. You know what I mean? So I was able to see the start and the consistency behind that. You speaking publicly, mentoring players, and launching initiatives to break the stigma, bro. So you also opening the gym, like you said earlier, that's a lot that
Yeah.
you have going on, bro. So you have to be able to take on not only what you have going on, but take on what these kids have going on. So now you are becoming a role model in these kids' life. So how do you manage your mind throughout all of this?
Man, I do therapy once a week, bro. I have to. Like, therapy is what I started with,
Mm-hmm.
and I got introduced to it. And I know it's cliche because, some people, you may meditate, you may, because I also journal too.
That's fire.
But those two things, therapy and journaling, is what gets me through, right? Because obviously I do have an anxiety disorder, right? And so a lot of my thoughts are in my head. And if I don't put them down on paper, I can't release those thoughts, right? And so it's either I'm doing something like this, I'm able to talk to the kids, and then I'm doing therapy, right? Once a week. And that's how I kind of like keep myself uh you always want to be even kill. You don't want to be too high, too low. So that's how I keep myself there. I have a therapist. She's Caucasian. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? That's another thing too that we can't be because there's not enough of us. right?
And
So,
experience and relatability doesn't come in color.
right.
You know what I mean? And
Yep.
I do got a question for you too, because one thing about talking to our culture about therapy is people don't understand it's a trial and error run. So my question to you is, that first therapist that you started with that helped you with everything, is that the same therapist that you still see today?
Nope, it's not the same one. Now, I will say, when I was in Seattle, this therapist was my therapist, for a short period of, or I'm gonna say for a good year, maybe, right?
Mhm.
But, with therapists, 2020, they were able to do Zooms and stuff like that. But then after COVID, they couldn't do it anymore, right? So I had to find another therapist, and I was kind of in that same boat with guys like, man, I don't feel like going through this again, or you get comfortable with one,
Mhm.
right? And so I had to we had to stop. So I had to do a trial and error run. The worst therapist that I had looked like me and you,
Fact. Yeah, that's the crazy part.
and I'm like, so
What
I
made because I'm on a route to become a family and counsel therapist myself. That's why I'm about to get my
come
master's in.
on, bro.
Yeah, because that's
Let's
exactly
go,
why.
bro. Let's
So
go.
my question to you is, what made that therapist make you feel like that was the worst therapist? Because people need to understand, like, it's okay to have those experiences.
Yeah, so I look at therapists in two ways. I look at the first way that I like to look at it is like what we're doing now, right?
Mhm.
A therapist obviously may speak 15% of the time, right? But we're still having a conversation. It's not the one thing that I don't like, right, is being in a room and I feel like I'm just talking to myself and you just writing notes, right? Some people may like that. For me, I want to have a conversation, and that's how I vetted and got to the right person. It took me probably 2 or 3 times, because the one I met with, I seeked the NFL out. They sent me to a couple of people, but the people that they sent me just, wasn't good for me, right? They looked like me, but it just, for whatever reason, it didn't work out, right? And then I actually found one that was more personable. Um, didn't really know me for a can of paint, and she was very vocal and kind of talked me through some of the things that I was dealing with, even down to like marriage and things of that nature. Like she was really intuitive to me, and so that's kind of how I stopped looking at like, maybe I should get somebody that looked like me. I stopped looking at that, and I just
Mhm.
said, you know what, I'm gonna get the best person, no matter what she looks like, and man, the same one I have now. So I'm
Fire.
grateful that I actually took that time and vetted each person, and I didn't quit. I didn't quit. I wanted to make sure that I got someone.
Took work. It took
And
work.
yeah. And Marcus, speaking of your wife, you spoke on, you brought her name up multiple times along with your mother-in-law. And they seem like your biggest support through your darkest moments. And I just want you to elaborate, on how they was able to pull you back up and dust you off at some of your worst times, and probably still continue to do that, doing things like that today.
Yeah. My wife, I married her 2017. We've been together since 2015, so it'll be 8 years this year. Married 10 years, knowing each other, and she
My
was the
brother.
first person. Yeah, man.
Congratulations.
You went
Appreciate
ahead
that,
and
bro.
locked in. You got it over with. Hey, I
Yeah,
ain't
bro.
playing.
That's
Yeah.
congratulations, man. For real, yo. Like, I really need to congrat now. You need to clap one
Facts.
for that, boy. You need to clap now, for real, man. For real.
Yes, sir, bro. Nah, it's lovely, man. It's what I try to instill in some of the younger guys too, man. Find somebody that really rocks with you, man.
Mhm.
But she's a nurse, right? Nurse practitioner, midwife. So she was the first person that actually told me that I was having an anxiety attack. She was the first person that put a name to it. And
I
this is
know
a
that
fun
was
fact
big.
though. Fun fact: she was pregnant at the time I tried to off myself.
Whoa.
Oh, I know
Right.
that was heavy.
So the reason that I didn't really talk to her like I kept it real surface level with her because of the baby, right? And I realized like she came to the facility. She was pregnant, and she was crying. Like it was almost like I was already gone. That's how bad she was crying, right? Because they had kind of told her what was going on and things of that nature. And I had said to myself in that moment, like, you know, when I seen her like that, I didn't think about her. I just felt so guilty because I'm like, dang, bro, I was about to leave her to
All
take care
selfish
of this
behavior.
baby. Yeah,
Yeah.
bro, take care of this baby by herself. You know, my daughter now. And I made a vow to myself, bro. I don't care. You know, I still deal with anxieties, still deal with the stuff, but I made it a vow, like, all right, I'm gonna put some people around me, my team around me. When it gets tough, like, I'm gonna go to them because
Yeah.
I'm never gonna get to that place again. Like, I refuse to get to that place, and then I'm gonna help other guys not get to that place. You know, some guys will call me at 3 a.m. Like,
Fire.
and
We
I
had that
ain't,
conversation.
yeah, bro. So yeah, man, my mother-in-law is the same way. She's like my spiritual leader. She's a apostle and a minister. So she speaks life over me a lot, and prays over me. And we, you know, as a family, she lives with us too. So it's like,
Fire.
you know, when your mother,
Fire.
when the grandparents live with you, it's like, man,
Life is wonderful.
Yeah.
it's
Got a
wonderful.
babysitter?
You know,
Life is
my
wonderful.
my mom she was living in Georgia. She moved up too.
Oh, for
She
real?
not living with us, but
Yeah,
she
but she
lived like
hit.
15 minutes. So
Yeah.
That's wit. Them kids can go right over there, baby.
I'm telling you,
I'm right
Close
there
enough
with
to the
you.
village.
Oh, you got date nights and everything.
Yeah.
bro,
Hallelujah.
but that's what it's about. You gotta,
Exactly.
if we not dating each other, it's like, man,
Bro, you just in the
we gotta
cycle.
figure something out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you just in the cycle, man. Nah,
And
that's dope. That's dope, bro. To be able to have that in your household and be able to show your kids what is right, what is strong, how you build a strong foundation. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because hearing from you, obviously, the emotional intelligence back then from our parents wasn't a foundation that they even had the opportunity to build. So you taking that, bro, and being able to build that is big.
yeah.
It's
Yes, sir.
really big.
Marcus, do you think a lot of that stems from the divorce you witnessed as a kid? Because I'm a divorced kid. I came up at a divorce. Parents separated, divorced around 10 years old. But that was one of the worst times in my life, bro. And I knew for myself that whenever I have kids, I don't want to put them through that. And, you know, it was traumatizing, bro. I hated my dad for a long time because you kind of get pushed to choosing a side.
Yep.
So it was really tough, bro. But you were literally building a village. Like, a lot of people don't even get along that good enough with their mother-in-law to just have them like,
Bruh,
oh, it's
bruh,
like-
for real though, it's our families are built off of dysfunction. So seeing function, they're like, the hell is going on? Like,
Yeah.
how are you this close with them?
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's not, it's just, I'm just showing you what unity looks like.
Yeah.
We bump heads. We live in the same house, right? But we keep the main thing the main thing. You know what I'm saying? That's just natural when it comes to family, right? There's no need to separate us. I look at it as one family. And when you talked about like the divorce, yeah, that was very traumatizing for me because I seen my parents fighting all the time.
Every
And
night.
and I would have conversations with my friends 7, 8 years old. I remember just one vivid conversation that I had with one of my friends, and he was talking about his parents they're not together anymore. And I remember telling him, like, man, my parents is cool. Like, my parents, they do the dang thing, like, right? I don't remember exactly what I said, but it was more so like my parents ain't getting divorced.
Yeah,
Right.
not even
And then
knowing.
the next year it happened to me. You know what I mean? And so I think the effect that it had on me and the stuff that I seen, and then we had to act like it never happened. I think that's what molded me to mask with everything. in my life. So if there was something that happened to me, if I was dealing with something, I ain't talk about it because that's what I seen. My mom and my dad get to fighting. Oh, we in church. Like the
Yeah,
shit never happened.
yeah, never happened.
That's the
And I'm like,
crazy part.
damn, like, we ain't gonna talk about
And they
this.
don't understand how
Yep.
bad that is for the kids, bro. It was like literally like and when my dad died, bro, that was one of the worst days of my life. But whenever I was at that age, like I seen my like would go to the I would sleep with a little knife under my pillow. Like if he do something to my mom, you know what I'm saying? It was, bro, that was terrible,
Yeah,
bro. It was bad.
yeah.
Bro, my sister pulled out a knife on my dad when they was fighting one
Yeah.
time. And I
Yeah.
had to tell her to put it back.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So being in that, like seeing how, because you mentioned that you seen your parents only fight, right? I have a belief in not only showing the kids good, obviously showing them how to communicate in disagreements. Is that something that you also show in your household, or something that you
Yeah,
also believe in?
yeah, we don't hide disagreements. And I think early on that's what my parents did. And so when the boiling point hit, then you would see it. You would see it in anger and in frustration, right? Uh we try not to get to that point. We try to stay if it's we can disagree all the time. You know, men and women, we just think different, right?
Facts.
Men, we more so think logically, right? And I may not think the same way. So my one thing that my kids do, you know, they get upset because in their minds they're thinking like, you guys are fighting, you need to stop. And
Mm-hmm.
then that'll make us stop and be like, look, it's okay. Like mommy and daddy, we just having a disagreement. This is how, you know, the relationships work.
Yeah.
Everything is not pretty all the time, right? And so that's one of the biggest things that I feel like the kids take from us is that okay, we're not hiding the disagreements. You know, we want it to be functional, but we're not going to agree all the time, and you don't have to agree with anything either. You know, so
Exactly.
I'm hoping that it's teaching them like, you know, and being in class or you know somebody's doing one thing, you ain't got to do that. You ain't got to be no follower. You know
Facts.
what I mean? Um, and then one other thing that I do with my son in particular, for sure, is I bring the feelings well out a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the ones
Yeah.
that we get when we in therapy to articulate our feelings. And my son whines a lot. Like he whines a lot for whatever reason, right? And and I say, look, I don't want you whining. I'm okay with you. You could tell me what's going on. I don't want you to whine, but tell me,
Communicate.
communicate that to me. And then I'll take him to the feelings where I said, bro, can you tell me what you feeling right here? This what this means. And then, you know, I've noticed now that like he does little stuff like, Dad, I was mad.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, I'm sad. Oh, that made me happy or whatever. But just saying it to me, I rather that than
Exactly.
you not saying nothing at all.
Yeah. Keeping it bottled in. Man, I got something I got to get off my chest. So something I've been going through with my son, right? And I was talking to Dame about this. Early on parenting, you said this, and I like that you said this. I was parenting how I was parented. And I didn't realize you didn't have to do that. So, and I'm come from a Haitian background. So the way I was parenting my kid, particularly my middle child, Ari, he has been traumatized by that, bro. Like my son said this to me. He is traumatized by me from what I used to do to him, meaning like the way I used to hit him or the way I used to punish him and stuff like that. And I sat down, I told him, I'm like, yo, the only thing I can do is apologize to you and let you know that as a father, I'm always going to get better. Like I'm always going to try to get better. And since then, that was really like my turning point. Just like, yo, you really have to be open. You really have to consistently ask these kids, how are you feeling? How am I doing as a father? What can I be doing better? You know what I mean? So even in therapy, hearing him talk about the things that stick with him, when he got in trouble, it's just like, damn, like I got to look at myself in the mirror. You know what I mean? So that's this being having this emotional intelligence and having the vulnerability is real key to me because like it affects your kids, man, and you
Yeah.
don't realize how much it affects them. So now it's dope because I asked him, I said, well, my wife really did this and I'm happy that she did this. She gave him an open space to now go to her. So now he wants to be able to have conversations at least 2 to 3 times a week, 2 to 3 times a days out of the week about what's going on and how he's feeling. So I'm like,
Yeah.
yo, that's fire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now
And
he's wanting to express his feelings and how he talks. So they're taking that initiative. So the pot is already turning, man. The pot is already turning. We're already changing this generational curse that we was brought up with, bro. So
Yeah.
I'm really putting this out there because I want to give all of us a tap on the back, bro, because we really doing this. You know what I mean? Like growing up, this is one thing that I never said to myself, "Oh, I'm gonna be emotionally stable."
Mhm.
Oh, my son,
and,
he's gonna be emotionally intelligent. Nah, this wasn't even our thought process. But now, bro, we becoming leaders at this.
and
You know
Ease,
what
I
I
think you
mean?
Yeah.
should add in that your wife is not his mom, and that's the biggest catch to the story.
Yeah, like my
So
Wow. Come
yeah,
on.
you know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
exactly.
That's important right there. That's not his mom. So
Yeah,
it's a
like
big,
that.
How old is your son?
He's 10.
Wow.
He's 10, bro.
yeah.
Just, and Dame, I don't know if I
That's
told you
sweet.
this. Just probably 2, 3 months ago, bro, he was Baker acted.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he was, bro. He in school. He's been having issues because when the situation that happened between me and his mom, he's been having issues. He's been having real like he's been going through a lot. You know what I mean? He's
Hmm.
been seeing stuff. He's been acting out, and he was acting out in a way of that he's gonna hurt somebody else. But this time he took it to where he was gonna hurt himself. So the
Mm.
school wouldn't allow him back inside the school until he was seen by a
Got some help.
psychologist and said, "Yeah." So we had to be Baker active, bro. Just
Yeah.
imagine getting a phone call from your kid, you
Yeah.
feel me? And sitting there saying, "Dad, I want to come home."
Mm.
You feel me?
Bro.
He was locked up and I had to talk to a 10-year-old like that, dog.
Mm.
Bro.
Like that shit hurt. Nigga, I ain't never think I was gonna have to do some shit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. We here for
No,
you,
that's
bro. Let it out,
yeah.
bro. Let it out,
Yeah, for
bro.
sure,
That's
bro.
tough.
Mm.
That's tough. And the
Mm.
only thing we could do is try to prevent that in the future. And as a brother to
Yeah,
you or
bro.
uncle to them, bro,
Mm.
anything I could do, if
Yeah, same here, bro.
anything. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's
No,
definitely
I
it's a
appreciate that.
village, bro. And, I'm a part of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that shit, bro, that shit is just big now, bro. It's everything to me. This mental health thing, cause it's crazy seeing your kid going through something like this and
Yeah.
having to work through it with him.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
even though you and your baby mother wasn't married, he's pretty much going through what me and Marcus went through around the same age
Exactly.
time.
You
It's
know what
just
I
the
mean?
separation. It's the
Yeah. No, that's one thing that he said. He
and
literally said that.
yeah,
He said that he's he wishes that like he misses that time frame. And for
yeah,
me, I don't understand. Like even when y'all was talking about, I don't understand that because by the time my parents was already gone, you feel
right.
me? Like they was already separated. So I don't know how that feels. So it's just like
Yeah.
trying to work with him
Yeah,
through that, navigating through that. That's why I'm always asking these type of questions.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just the I seen them come up, the bond, the family that y'all had together. That was everybody in the house. So you forget, it's like, bro, that's a big change for them, bro. And
That's a
as
fact.
parents, y'all,
you're not alone in that too, Dom. It's like my son too, uh before, there were some things that I had to get through too and understand as a parent, stuff that I did with him. And he's only 4, so I don't know, maybe it is something about, when he's 10 that he's like, pops or whatever, that wasn't he could talk to me about it, right?
yeah,
But hopefully it is. But sometimes I would, because of how I was traumatized when I was younger by my father with different stuff, and I seen myself doing it to my son, right?
mhm,
I would be sitting there crying when it's over because it's like I would be having flashbacks myself.
Facts.
Then I would have to go to my wife and be like, bro, what is this? Like, I don't like this feeling. I'm just like you said, you just naturally doing what you've seen, and you think that you should be, as a parent, you always say like, man, I ain't gonna never do that, but then you just naturally do certain stuff. And I've always, my dad is a closed book, and I'm still working on him too. Because I want him to open up too, because there's some things that have happened in his life that he should be talking about. But he's a closed book, and I'm trying to still figure out, because the only way that I can figure out my true self is if I know who he is.
Yeah.
You know,
That's a fact.
and so that's what you're doing with your son, bro, and that's how
Yeah.
you breaking a generational curse right there, bro.
And the process is starting so much earlier, bro, because it's like, even as a grown man and stuff that I was hesitant to say to my dad because of the reaction or the way he might take it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you got a 10-year-old and a 4-year-old that y'all giving that floor to. So when they become grown men or young men, it's going to be a nothing but love. It's going to be, they don't have to hide anything from you.
Yeah, I still need to push these weights for him.
That's a fact. That's why my pops told me that the other day. He like, yeah, y'all too big. I'm gonna have to shoot y'all in your foot.
Man, my son, he like 95 percentile. I'm like, oh nah, bro.
Oh, yeah.
Big fella.
Yeah.
He's moving. Man, I appreciate you coming on. Before you leave, you gotta let the people know, Marcus, bro, you have a lot of things going on. Obviously, you doing your mental health. You have been at the top of your performance in your profession at all levels. How do you manage your mind on a daily basis? We know you do your therapy, but on a daily basis, if you can give us 2 to 3 things on how you manage your mind, that would be helpful for them.
Yeah, bro. So the first thing that I always do, and this is just for people who, are spiritual, maybe, you know what I mean? I never push it on anybody, but the first thing I do, usually when I wake up, is pray. I talk to the Father, and it puts me in a state of like a Zen state, like more so, it gets me calm, if you will, right? And so that's the first thing that I do when I wake up. And so, secondly, how I keep my mind, how I manage my mind is, I talked a little bit about journaling, right? Um, we have a couple of things that go through on out the day, and you'll notice, like, if you just put it down on paper, you notice like a lot of the stuff that I speak about on socials is stuff that I've written, and I just put it all together, and I just, I say it. Um, maybe the people want to hear it, maybe they don't want to hear it, but I just put it out in the atmosphere for them to hear, because that's what was in my head, and I put it down on paper. And then the third thing is, you talked a little bit about it earlier. I do a date night with my wife, or sometimes it's a date day, if you will, because sometimes the kids are with their grandparents during the day. So if my wife isn't working, I'm not doing anything, we go, and that keeps me level headed too, because I love her dearly, and that keeps our relationship fresh, and allows me to continue to do what I'm doing, because I know that is intact. So that's what I would say. And I hope that, that's usually what I do. You know what I mean? Not too much, but I would encourage, people to find, what helps them. And it's okay to continue to try different things. You know what I mean?
Nah, that's dope, man.
Yeah.
Keep your spirit, your home, and your person alive every
Yeah.
single day. That's exactly what you did,
And Marcus,
bro.
man, you're a blessing to the world, man. We all glad you're here. We all could benefit that, that you still here. And that was only God that allowed you to still be here. And it's definitely you got a lot of work to do that's continuing being done. And we glad to be a part of your journey, bro. Glad just it's a blessing.
Yeah,
Bro,
man.
appreciate you for having me, man. This was good, man. I feel good, man.
Nah, that's a fact. That's a fact, man. Nah, it
I ain't
need.
had this in a minute, bro.
Yeah.
Need to let off all that, bro. You
Yeah,
feel
man.
it. You feel it. if you could just let everybody know where they can find you, what you have going on, that'll be helpful for them.
Yeah, bro. So Marcus Smith II, I have a website. It's marcussmith2nd.com. You'll be able to see all my stuff there. I have a company called The Circle of M. Our website is thecircleofm.com. We have just recently partnered with the state of Maryland to run a mentorship program, mental health mentorship program for the kids. That's where I have my gym. Where A&M Sports is, that is intertwined. So if you want to look at that, you can go to Instagram, the Circle of M, and then you can also go to the gym, which is AMS Sports Fitness. So you'll be able to see all the things that we're doing. We're trying to mend sports, fitness, but then also life coaching in the same category. But so, appreciate you guys for having me. And yeah, just go check it out, man. It'd be some cool stuff.
Nah, I appreciate it, man. Mind, body, and soul.